Hey, happy Monday. Hey, I'm really excited to be here with you this morning because last week we talked about curiosity and how really everything starts with progress and asking questions. Speaking of questions, I would love everyone involved to ask questions as we go along, and I'll answer those in the chat as we go along. So I want this to try to be as interactive as possible. So if you have questions as we go, please drop those in there and I'll answer those as we go along. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat here. So let's say that you let's say that you really are curious. You want to know how to get to that next level. You want to know how to make your dreams a reality, and you really are looking for the answers. So how do you actually get to that goal? How do you achieve that goal that you're striving for? How do you really become that person that you want to become? Well, you have a couple of options. You could figure it out on your own through, trial and error. And here's the thing: if you're really, really determined, then you probably will get there eventually. But there's a better way. What if I told you there was actually a way that you could condense that time from where you want to be to where you want, or where you are, I'm sorry, to where you want to be, to close that gap between where you're starting and your goal? What if I told you there was a way that you could actually condense that time massively? What if I told you there was a way that you could close that gap in a fraction of the time that you think? Well, guess what? There is a way to do that, and it's actually simpler than you may think. It's all about modeling proven practices. And here's what I mean by that. It means finding someone that's already done what you want to do, that already is where you want to be, and find that person, find that role model, and do what they do. I know it sounds so super simplistic. It sounds so overly simplistic almost. But if you do what successful people do, if you think like they think, there's a pretty good chance that you'll probably get the results that they get, right? So I have done this all throughout my life and my career and in all different ways. And I've always got massive results when I decide to model proven practices. Now, I've got stuck in times when I'm trying to do it myself. I've got stuck in that rut of trying to figure it out on my own, right? I think we've all been there, right? Have you ever had that time where you get stuck in something and you just keep throwing stuff at it and you're just trying to do it on your own and it just doesn't seem to be working, right? Well, I've had those same times, but when I decide consciously, because that's the thing you have to remember, is you have to consciously decide to model proven practices. Throughout my life, when I've chosen to model, when I've chosen to follow those proven practices, then I've had massive results in my life. I've had massive results in my company. I'll give you, or my companies and my career. I'll give you an example. So when I first started my first company, this was almost 10 years ago, I didn't have a clue how to run a company. Kid you not, I had no clue, never run a company, didn't know what to do, didn't know what it was like, didn't know all the nuts and bolts, no squat. And the really crazy thing was I didn't know the first thing about marketing and sales. And obviously, you got to have marketing and sales to actually have a business, right? You don't have a coach that says sales is the oxygen for business, right? If you're not selling anything, obviously you can't stay in business, right? Super simplistic, but I think a lot of times when people start a business, they overlook like all of these aspects, but that's okay. Like we're all learning as we go. So anyhow, I didn't know anything about running a business, nothing. So the first year I made a whopping $6,000. Can you believe that? $6,000. The second year, I made $9,000. Man, that is a little bit more there, right? But then I realized something needed to change. I needed to figure out how to make this work. I needed to figure out what I was doing wrong, why why I wasn't moving forward. And again, coming from someone that had never run a company before. So I found a home inspector marketing coach. That was the industry I was in, was home inspections. And I decided, okay, something's got to change. Something's got to switch. I got to make sure, I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong. And I figured, find someone that knows how to do it. Find someone that knows what I'm struggling with, right? And so I invested in myself and I dove into learning everything I could, from the way that my coach did things to the way he marketed, the way he took sales calls, the way he built his systems. And I modeled what he did and really implemented a lot of things right away. That year, get this, that year I went, so the last year was 9,000, right? I mean, not really enough to live on, right? And I made 60,000 that next year, just from modeling what he did instead of trying to figure it out on my own. Then I decided to dig deeper and to really start to model some of his more nuanced systems, and to really start to gain some of the mindset shifts that he had. And then year after that, I made $200,000. So I went from 60 to 200,000 just by modeling. That's it. I didn't change. I mean, I hired him as my coach, but all I did was I just switched the way I did things, and I modeled him. And I continued to learn. I continued to model. I continued to really dig into what he was teaching me and the way he did things. And the next 3 years, I made almost $500,000 for the next 3 years or so, somewhere around there. So I went from 6,000, right, to $500,000 in just a couple of years, just by modeling proven practices. Now, do you think I could have got there by myself? I mean, maybe, but it probably would have taken me a decade to get there instead of just a couple of short years. So I don't say this to impress you. I say it to impress upon you the importance and the real power of modeling proven practices, of finding someone that, like I said, is where you want to be, and basically just copying them. They say copying is the sincerest form of flattery, right? It really just comes down to finding what they're doing that works and doing it. Now, a lot of people will think that, well, does this mean that I'm just going to become the same company as them? No, of course not. You're just taking the things that work for you and you're using them. I have another coach that says he'll be teaching and he says, take what serves you. So from what I'm teaching you, take what serves you and throw out the rest. Because the hope is that we'll gain just a couple little key skills that can totally change everything. And that's really what it comes down to a lot of times. A lot of times it just comes down to that one little shift. Sometimes that one tiny little shift is all we need to go from here to here. We think that we have to make these massive changes, but a lot of times it just comes down to those simple shifts. So what is the best way to model proven practice? So I'm saying you should model the proven practice. You should keep copying the people that you admire, the people that are where you want to be. So how do you actually do that, right? So there are all kinds of ways, but I'm going to tell you my 3 favorite ways. So this is by no means an exhaustive list, but here's my 3 favorite ways to model proven practices. So the first one is read books. Find books in areas you want to grow and build a skill. This is one of the easiest and really the most accessible and quickest ways and affordable ways to model others. This is the way that you can find skills and growth in all different subjects that you're trying to get. Just find a book and actually read it. Somebody, I can't remember the statistics, but I think it was something like 75%. It might even be higher than that, but I think it was at least 75% of people who buy a book, put it on the shelf, and never even read it. What's the point in having a book if you don't even read it, right? So buy the book and read it. So that's the first way. It's the least effective of the three, but I don't want that to let you stop. I don't want that to stop you from using this method, because reading is a powerful skill and a powerful habit. I love that quote from The Princess Bride, where the grandfather says, "When I was your age, when I was your age, television was called books." So don't let that discourage you from reading. That is one of the easiest, quickest, and most affordable ways to start modeling proven practices. So the second way is immersive learning experiences. This could be a conference, it could be a seminar, it could be a workshop. These could be virtual or in person. But the real power of that is that the people teaching you can show you what worked for them and what didn't in a really short amount of time. So I have a coach that says he loves seminars and workshops because you can collapse decades into days. So this way of modeling proven practices is really powerful, and it's very quick and effective. The third way, which is the very most powerful of all of these, and I think probably one of the most powerful ways to model proven practices, one of the most powerful ways to just gain success and to move a lot quicker, and that's to get yourself a coach, to work with a personal coach. This is the most effective and quickest way, because what happens is you get live feedback. You can really move through areas and challenges in your life and your career that may otherwise take you weeks, months, or even years to really get through. So I have used all three of these methods throughout my life and career, and I can tell you 100% with 100% certainty that I would not be anywhere close to where I am. I wouldn't have had 3 different businesses that are successful, and I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am if it wasn't for modeling proven practices of other people. In fact, I can actually show measurable progress from each of these. So when I first started my company, I would read books, and about marketing and sales and business skills and how to interact with people and social skills and all. I would read all kinds of books to really help me. And I gotta say, I made some pretty decent progress. And then I started to attend seminars, and this really honed and refined my skills. A lot of the skills I had learned from the books, but it helped me really implement them and helped me really put them into action. But when I finally decided to really hire my own and start working with my own personal coach, someone that was keeping me accountable, someone that was giving me feedback, someone that was working with me side by side as I went, and I could I could use the success that they had gotten. I could even use the failures. In fact, a lot of times that was even more useful, is to be able to rely on them to say, look, this doesn't work, don't go down that way, or maybe try this, things like that. And that level of feedback and that level of almost intimacy and and accountability really, really took me to that next level. I mean, my income skyrocketed, my fulfillment, my clarity, and all other areas of my life shot up almost like magic. So don't underestimate the power of modeling. Your gifts are unique. We were talked about earlier, a lot of people will think like, well, if I model proven practices, that's cheating, right? If I model proven practices, then I won't be me anymore. That's not it. That's not what I'm advocating at all. And if you think that's what it is, don't do it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is take what serves you and throw out the rest, right? Model the success habits that they have that can take you to that next level and still be you. You have gifts that are unique. you bring something totally special to the table, totally uniquely you. But when you model the success of others, you can actually take that to the world so much quicker. So sure, you could do it on your own. You could learn through trial and error, and you could just keep grinding, you could keep pushing. But how much time will be lost in that time? How much time will be wasted in the process of trying to figure it out instead of modeling someone who's already done it? Tony Robbins calls modeling proven practice one of the 3 pillars of mastery. And when you master something, you're all but guaranteed to have success in other areas. Am I right? So this week, I would love for you to revisit your goals and your dreams. And maybe instead of thinking, how do I do this? Maybe think, who? Who can I model? Who can I find to extract what they've done, their successes, or maybe their failures? Like I said, sometimes the successful people's failures are almost more useful than the way that they succeed, because then they can show you, don't do this, it doesn't work, or don't go down that path. So instead of thinking how, think who. Who can you model to make your dreams and your goals a reality? And when you figure it out, go and find out what they're doing that you aren't. Hey, thanks for being here. Thank you for taking the time to really learn how to shrink that gap massively. And if you're a real estate professional and you want to step up and learn how to really model proven practices like we talked about, if you want to shrink that gap from where you are to where you really want to be, and you want to stop trying to figure it out on your own, click the link in my bio and book a discovery session with me so that we can chat about where you are and what proven practices that we can utilize and that can collapse your gap. And you can really finally start to step into the professional and the person that you were meant to be. So book a discovery session with me. I'd love to chat with you. Thanks for being here today. Thank you, everyone, for being so willing to learn and to grow. Please like, share, and subscribe, and check out any of my other videos on my YouTube channel. Remember to keep growing every day and empowering those around you. See you soon. Bye.